I do want to bring you back to this breaking news that we have been following, as the State Department here has now issued an alert, a worldwide caution, saying that social media posts on several platforms are calling for demonstrations at U.S. and Israeli facilities today, October 25th. U.S. citizens should avoid demonstrations and exercise caution. Now, it is important to note this is not just in the U.S., but the State Department urging all American citizens to pay close attention and to avoid these demonstrations and exercise caution, as they could be extremely dangerous. As we get more information from the State Department, we will make sure to bring that to you right here on Live Now from.
So there you have it, you guys. There is a caution underway right now that has been announced. And drop a 5x5 if you can hear me and see me okay. I'm going to share this with you from the actual website, so that way you can see it for yourself. This is from the U.S. Department of State Bureau of Consular Affairs, travelstate.gov. And you can see that there is an October 24th. This was issued for today, October the 25th, for potential attacks that are coming. Let me slide this over so you can see it here. Worldwide caution. It says social media posts on various platforms are calling for demonstrations at U.S. and Israeli facilities on Friday, October the 25th, 2024. That's today. Now, we've been hearing that these are likely going to be escalating as we get closer to the elections. And we're also hearing the conflicts in the Middle East are going to continue to increase. So they are saying, please use caution. Be aware of what is taking place, because there are potential attacks that are being plotted right now against us on U.S. soil and around the world. So they are issuing this alert out today, and it says worldwide social media posts on various platforms are calling for demonstrations at U.S. and Israeli facilities today on Friday, October the 25th, 2024. The U.S. government reminds U.S. citizens to avoid rallies and demonstrations. And coincidentally, there's actually a rally that's taking place here in Houston, Texas today, October the 25th, 2024. I believe Kamala Harris is going to be coming into our town. Beyonce is supposed to be here. There's also, I believe, Donald Trump is going to be in Austin today, recording with Joe Rogan for a podcast as well. And they're saying that today is probably not the best day to be meeting, as there is a high alert issued. And this is not only for the United States, as you heard, this is also for the entire world at this time, as they're saying that across social media platforms, they're saying that any demonstration opportunities could be an attack opportunity. It says avoid rallies and demonstrations whenever possible, and exercise caution when in the vicinity of any large gatherings, as even peaceful demonstrations have the potential to turn violent without warning. It also says enroll in the Smart Travel Enrollment Program, or STEP, to receive information and alerts and make it easier to locate you in emergency overseas. So this is not just on U.S. soil, but anywhere. Follow the Department of State on Facebook and Twitter also. So again, this coming out from the official website for the travelstate.gov. They've issued this alert coming out today, October the 25th. This was issued yesterday, October the 24th, but it is for today. You can see here, Friday, October the 25th. There are warnings coming out about potential attacks coming. So, like I said, I will keep you guys up to date as more information comes out. But let's go ahead and take a look at more footage that has come out recently. I'm going to give you some more updated information here as to what they're saying. Let's take a look at this video footage. And once the video starts, if you can hear it and see it okay, do me a favor, drop a 5x5 so I can make sure it's coming across and the sound sounds good.
You are looking at this post here on social media coming from the State Department, as we talk much more about an alert that was issued, a worldwide caution. Again, you can see it on your screen as they say social media posts on various platforms are calling for demonstrations at U.S. and Israeli facilities on Friday, October 25th. That is today. U.S. citizens should avoid demonstrations and exercise caution. Now, important to note that they aren't just saying this is happening in the U.S. They are saying across the globe, American citizens need to pay attention to this alert. No question, there is a lot to discuss right now, so I do want to bring in a friend of the show, Mark Chandler. He is, of course, the Director of Government Relations and a Professor of Practice at Coastal Carolina University, also a former Senior Defense Intelligence official. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us, Mark. And I did want to ask you here about this alert that has been issued, because obviously you have seen a lot of these that have come out over the years. And my question for you is, does that indicate that it is a severe situation and maybe there is possibly credible information that led to this?
Well, first off, Josh, I'm very glad the State Department released this information to make our citizens around the world aware of the potential threat. Now, they would not have released this if there was not some credible information, something that we're tracking behind the scenes that show that there is a legitimate threat, although they probably can't pinpoint it exactly to American and also Israeli citizens around the world, in these various locations. So what we do in the United States when we have this information is we do go out there and kind of give this blanket response or blanket warning, if you will. If there was some more specific information we had on a direct threat, we would obviously target that location. But it seems to me there's a lot of chatter out there around the world, and there is an increased threat from, extremists and terrorists against Israeli and U.S. citizens, wherever they may be.
So this is one of those situations where Americans, regardless of where you are, we're talking about the U.S. or overseas, need to really pay attention.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, even the United States is not safe. As we've seen, the various terrorist plots that have been uncovered in the last few weeks in the United States, I think we need to be very vigilant, even inside the U.S., of our own security. That old saying after 9/11, it used to be, if you see something, say something. I think we need to be vigilant, especially through the election coming up, because nothing more than ISIS, Iran, those groups want to create more problems and conduct a successful terrorist attack in the United States. So definitely be very alert. And it's also overseas.
And let's shift here to talk a little bit more about what's going on over in Doha, Qatar, because we did hear from Secretary of State Antony Blinken as he spoke alongside the Prime Minister there in Doha just yesterday. He does say there is this new framework, quote unquote, and they are hoping to have some kind of deal that could be struck. We know the Mossad chief is going to head over to Doha this weekend. It appears U.S. officials will go as well. Do we have any indication if Hamas is going to send anyone? And kind of a two-part question here. Are we any closer to an actual deal happening, or is it still kind of out of reach?
Well, I think we can look at Blinken's announcement along with the Prime Minister. This was kind of a successful week for Blinken. He went over early in the week. He's trying to regenerate, if you will, those talks and get those going again. The fact that Israel has agreed again to go to Doha and try to be available for any talks, I think is a significant development. But we've been here before, Josh. And when I look at this, early indications were that Hamas was not going to participate. However, late yesterday, late last night, there were some indications, at least through Qatar and Egypt representatives, that Hamas indicated they may participate. Now, the ceasefire, the hostage negotiations, that's really been at Hamas's hands for several months, and they have backed off and killed several deals over the past several months. So we will see. I'm cautiously optimistic that Hamas may show up, at least with some representatives, but you got to realize they're still in a leadership disarray from those, living in comfort in Qatar versus those fighting in the trenches in Gaza.
And I do want to pop up this live image that we do have. This is over Beirut, Lebanon. As you can see, the dust, the smoke still rising there as Israel does continue its operations there. One thing that kind of stood out to me here is the deputy head of Hamas's political bureau said that the terrorist group is ready to, quote unquote, prioritize the release of 2 Russian hostages that are held in Gaza, kidnapped, of course. Is that Hamas trying to build a better relationship with Russia?
Well, I definitely think it is. And I think Hamas is reaching out there trying to maintain whatever relations and international support it can. More and more information has been revealed about the terrorist aspects of Hamas. I mean, it is a terrorist organization. So I think they want to maintain the best relationship they can, especially with Russia. If you recall, back last November, a Russian was one of the first hostages released in those early exchanges. So you have to go back there. There is precedent for this. So I think if talks start, the two Russians that they discussed here are absolutely on the table to be some of the first out there. And let's look, earlier in the week, or late last week, Russia offered to mediate between Israel and Iran. That was nothing more than a political ploy. And then in the past, even this year, Russia has hosted the Palestinians and Hamas representatives, and showed their support to them. So absolutely, Hamas wants Russia's support. But what Russia gets out of this is Russia is able to provide that undercurrent of support to Iran and Hamas and even Hezbollah, because they have actually given Hezbollah some weapons also, to keep a destabilized Middle East. That keeps the U.S. attention focused elsewhere. So for Russia, Hamas is nothing more than a pawn in this larger game that they're playing. Hamas definitely wants their support, though.
We also did hear from the Israel Defense Forces. They're saying that 6 Al Jazeera journalists are affiliated with either Hamas or the Islamic Jihad there, Palestinian Islamic Jihad. Can you explain who that group is? Because we know about Hamas, but what about the Palestinian Islamic Jihad?
Josh, I'll be glad to. But first, if I could just talk about the report itself. What we're seeing that the IDF does is they go in, they're hitting these Hamas command and control facilities, and they're getting computer data, they're getting papers, and it's starting to reveal the intricate network that Hamas and the PIJ have established throughout the Middle East, whether it's with the UN elements, UN schools, and in this case, Al Jazeera. And for your viewers' information, there's 2 Al Jazeeras. There's the Arabic version, and then there's the English version. And the stories are not the same. So I just put that in context to try to explain perhaps that there's likely bias in some of the Al Jazeera reporting. But to specifically answer your question now about the PIJ, they are a terrorist organization. They were established in the early 1980s. They were part of the October 7th, 2023 attack on Israel. So the thing that started this whole thing, now they're not as big as Hamas. If we go back to the beginnings, Hamas had 30,000 plus fighters in their Al-Qassam brigades and spread out across Gaza. However, the PIJ, they have less than 10,000, but very dedicated fighters with the same goal. Let's eliminate Israel. Let's kill as many Jews as possible. They're located in Gaza, but they also have a significant strength and cells located in the West Bank, which is, as we followed this, there were more attacks coming out of the West Bank, which were probably more PIJ-oriented. So I probably haven't spent enough time talking about the PIJ over the last 12 months, but they are definitely part of the fight against Israel, and they're going to continue that fight with a lot of dedicated terrorist fighters to throw into the mix.
And we are taking a live look right there. You can see right next to your head, that is Beirut, Lebanon once again. And I want to talk a little bit more about that because this obviously effort, the operation there has been going on for several weeks here. Is there any indication that it is almost over, that it is going to come to an end, or is that kind of unclear?
Well, I think going to your question specifically, earlier in the week, General Halevi, he's the chief of staff of the Israeli military, said that there's a possibility, and to use his words, that we could reach a sharp conclusion to this operation. Now, I militarily don't think Israel's reached its objectives at this time. But what I do think Halevi was signaling is, okay, let's start to take a look at this because we are willing to stop the fight and stop the press the military pressure if you come out and reach an agreement. So he's indicating an early opening to a ceasefire with Hezbollah. Now, you can also look at the dynamics at play in Lebanon. The Lebanese president and prime minister have come out and they have been more vocal against Iran. And the key factor is Iran's the primary culprit behind Hezbollah, their primary supporter of keeping this fighting going. And he's also offered to put Lebanese armed forces in the southern part of Lebanon, kind of a buffer between northern Israel and the Hezbollah, which should be pushed north of, according to the UN, the Litani River. So speaking specifically now to that, that's what Israel wants. They want to push Hezbollah north of the river, the blue line, if you will, and ensure that the Israeli citizens can move back north and start to live their life without Hezbollah harassment. That's a national strategic objective that Israel has. And so they have methodically gone about with this ground operation to push Hezbollah back. Hezbollah is resisting that significantly, and they decapitated Hezbollah. They have really changed the dynamic in the last month of how we have looked at fighting between Hezbollah and Israel. So I think in military terms, what we say is Israel wants to exploit the advantage that they have gained now. And so they're going to continue to push, continue to have these outreaches, if you will, for a ceasefire, if they can accomplish that strategic objective. Let's get Hezbollah north and let's stop attacks on northern Israel. If we do that and we can ensure the security of the northern part of Israel, I think you're going to see a rapid de-escalation. But that's still in the works.
And Mark, you and I have been talking now for weeks upon weeks about this imminent attack, retaliatory attack by Israel on Iran, of course, in retaliation for the 180 ballistic missiles that were fired by Iran at Israel. Do we have any sort of intelligence, any indication that this attack is still imminent? We know, of course, that we had the leaked classified documents that came out several days ago. Has that put any sort of a delay on any of this? Do we really know?
Well, the bottom line is, as a good intel officer, no, I really don't know. But as a guy talking to you right now, I'm going to speculate a little bit. But Josh, if I could, I just want to address that leak for a second. This was an egregious leak of intelligence. As an intelligence professional, as an American, I think this is just absolutely terrible and disgusting to take place. I hope the FBI wraps up their investigation very soon, and they punish the culprit or culprits to the fullest extent of the law. And I'm talking about prison, because this is just absolutely terrible. And it further destroys trust within our own intelligence community, but trust with a key ally in Israel. And I think that kind of drives that point home of why Israel perhaps isn't going to be as forthcoming, because they're concerned that the U.S. would do leaks that would endanger their forces that they're going to send into harm's way against Iran. So having said that, I'll get off that soapbox, but that leak bothers me significantly. But I think what we're looking at is Israel being very methodical in a very complex military operation that they have been planning. I know a lot of people want an immediate reaction and a large retaliatory response, but what Israel wants is success. And so I think they have taken their time to plan out the types of munitions, the types of targets they want to go after. Recall, everything's on the table. Economic targets through the oil infrastructure, nuclear targets, soft nuclear targets to hard nuclear targets, IRGC targets, even Iranian leadership targets. So I think what Israel wants to do is send a very strong message. They have an opportunity to change the dynamics of the Iranian interaction as well, and attack with force and try to make it as successful in as short a period of time as possible. That's a very complex operation. So Israel's going to plan that. They're going to conduct it when they're ready. The leak, it might give Iran some idea of what types of munitions Israel might use, but I don't think it's going to inhibit how Israel's going to go about and do this. When they're ready to attack, and part of that requires they're at a position in Lebanon where they want to be militarily, because Israel will attack, and then they have to be ready for the Iranian counterattack, which as recently as yesterday, Iran is still threatening overwhelming retaliation against this coming Israeli attack. So I don't want to put a number on it, but by the election, by the U.S. election time, we could see a significant attack. But Israel will do it when it's ready and ready for a successful defense.
All right, Mark, my last question. I know this is kind of a general question overall, but did want to get your take on it here, because you've been following the Houthis' activity pretty closely. Have we seen any sort of escalation there? Because we're not hearing about it as much. We're hearing about Hamas, Hezbollah, the situation in Lebanon and Gaza, but not so much about the Houthis. So what is the latest there?
Well, the Houthis are tricky with this. And I think what we're seeing is a lack of activity from the Houthis after the U.S. about 10 days ago, the B-2 bomber strike on some of their underground facilities, their weapons storage facilities. So I think what the Houthis are doing is, one, trying to figure out how much they have left and then be ready for an assault. So I wouldn't get lulled into a sense of complacency by the Houthi, lack of activity in the last few days by them. They are recalibrating. One thing we have not cut off, any Iranian resupply efforts. So the missiles are going to continue to go there. The explosive boats, unmanned boats, are going to continue to get into the Houthi area. So we're going to see that. Give them a little bit of time to dig out from the attack, and then I think we're going to start to see some more attacks in the Red Sea and the Bab el-Mandeb Strait from the Houthis.
All right, Mark Chandler, as always, thank you so much for taking the time to join us here. Anything else that you want to add about any of this? Obviously, we covered a variety of topics, but anything else you want to add?
Josh, we did cover a variety today, but one thing I will go back to is that Israeli attack on Iran. I think you're looking at the potential for significant escalation, but the escalation is going to really be set by how Iran responds. They're threatening all the Arab states. They're threatening the United States, talking about, they have all of our bases in the Middle East under observation. How Iran responds to this Israeli attack, I think will kind of set us down a path of we're going to see escalation, or we're going to just see where we're sitting right now and allow Israel to conduct its operations in Lebanon and move forward. So that.
So there you have it, you guys, and these are the warnings that are being issued today, and here's the actual site so you can see it for yourself. I try to put everything on the screen, read right from it so you know it's the latest. You can see here this is coming out from, this is the official page, the notice, the alert coming out today. Security alert, October 24th, 2024, worldwide caution. Now also let me know in the comments if you can hear me and see me okay. Drop a 5x5 as I'm switching these microphones over so that way I know the information's coming across clearly. But you can see this is coming from travel.state.gov, U.S. Department of the State, Bureau of Consular Affairs. This is the official site. So the warning coming out today, the warning coming out yesterday, and it is a worldwide caution for today, October the 25th, 2024. Now we're just hearing that the caution is increasing every day as we get closer to elections. And we've actually heard warnings of attacks coming on election day, and we've heard warnings of cyber attacks, physical attacks, and then this coming out today. So this is a worldwide caution to all Americans and all Israelis. And it says that right now the event is that social media posts on various platforms are calling for demonstrations at U.S. and Israeli facilities on Friday, today, October the 25th, 2024. The U.S. government reminds U.S. citizens to the following. Avoid rallies and demonstrations whenever possible and exercise caution when in the vicinity of any large gatherings. At even peaceful demonstrations, they have the potential to turn violent without warning. And we're actually hearing there are rallies today. Actually, here in Houston, Texas, where I am, Kamala Harris is flying into town. They're saying Beyonce is going to be here, and a bunch of people are going to be gathering there. So they're saying today, any rallies, any demonstrations, protests, please be vigilant. They're saying that there should be a high level of caution. This is a worldwide caution as well. This is not just subject to the United States. This is all over the world. If you are an American citizen or you are Israeli, please be of high vigilance today because they're saying that there is potential threats throughout the day today. And we're hearing that this is just escalating, though, as we get closer to the elections. And I've actually heard, too, I haven't been able to confirm this, but they're saying after the elections to be cautious as well, as we see a transition of power coming after November 5th, and we determine who the next president of the United States is going to be, all the way up to the them actually coming into office. They're saying to watch out for that as well. So, as more details come out on this, I'll be sure to let you guys know. But I wanted to share with you guys here that there's currently a U.S. worldwide caution alert. And this is for U.S. citizens and Israelis, as they're saying there are threats of potential attacks. So wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of what's going on, as we're also hearing that things are escalating around the world right now with everything that's going on. And I shared with you yesterday, we've received word that everything has changed when it comes to Israel and Iran. Now, we had heard originally that Israel was going to be retaliating for the 181 ballistic missiles that were fired at them on October 1st. They said there was going to be a retaliatory strike. We had heard that it was going to be on military assets or military leaders, and it was going to be happening before the elections. Well, I'll let you know yesterday that has all changed. As a result of the U.S. leak, which we heard them discuss a little bit here in that video, they said that now they feel like information has been compromised. They said even though specifics weren't given, it very likely could be giving away potential locations and details that can be assumed from the letter that was divulged. And so they're saying that as a result, they're changing everything. This is setting them back. So we had heard that nuclear facilities and oil refineries were off the table by Israel. They might be back on as they're changing their attack strategies. And in addition to that, we're also hearing the time frame might be changing as well. This is going to be delaying their response. So who knows? Initially, Israel said they were trying to avoid disrupting the November 5th U.S. presidential elections, but now that might all be changing. We might see a different time frame, different targets, and things are going to be escalating. We've already heard from Iran, who said that they will be holding Israel and the United States accountable for the attacks, and they will be escalating things further. And we saw, as I shared with you this week, Anthony Blinken, I believe it was Wednesday, if I'm not mistaken, flew into Israel, met with Benjamin Netanyahu, and asked if there was any way to form some sort of peace treaty, a truce in the Middle East between Gaza and Lebanon to stop the fighting, which Israel is saying no. Until we have our hostages, there is no ceasefire. This is war. When is the United States going to get on board and help us? And with the help of the United States, if we actually, he said, if the administration changed its policies towards the conflict, we literally could eradicate the threat from Iran within a matter of days, just like we did with Hezbollah in a matter of weeks. So we're hearing this is just the beginnings. Israel saying they're preparing for a long, drawn-out war. I shared with you information coming out from Israeli news that they're actually adjusting their budgets right now to increase the military finances and adjusting the economy to plan for long-term war. They're saying the retaliation is not going to be the end. It is just the first phase. It is just the beginning of what is going to be coming here. In addition to that, we've got all the other conflicts happening around the world as well. I shared with you what is going on with Russia and Ukraine. And now they are siding alongside the Koreas, North Korea with Russia, South Korea with Ukraine. They're assisting each other with troops, equipment, arms. And we are seeing sides being drawn in now what is becoming a global conflict. And this coming as China is saying prepare for war, as they are encircling with jet fighter planes and warships around Taiwan. And the United States is right in the middle of all this. So we've got Russia, Ukraine, North Korea, South Korea, China, Taiwan, Israel, Iran. And we're hearing that war is imminent. Things are going to be escalating here. And everything has changed in regards to the Israeli conflict. We're not really sure what's going to be unfolding here, what the new plan is, and we're likely not going to be hearing after this U.S. leak. Israel is likely not going to be sharing any information, but when it happens, I'll be sure to share with you here on the channel so you can see exactly what is going on. But right now, the United States is issuing out this worldwide caution security alert, telling everybody today, October the 25th, specifically this Friday, to be very careful because there are social media posts across social media platforms, various different ones, calling for demonstrations at U.S. and Israeli facilities. And they are saying that at these facilities, that even if they seem peaceful and just like their rallies or gatherings, that they could become violent. So they said to be cautious because there is potential threats that have been announced today. So I wanted to make sure that everyone was aware of this. And this coming out a couple of hours ago. The video footage I shared with you coming out from Fox News Live, coming out just a couple of hours ago today as well. Roughly, I want to say like 3 to 5 hours ago, as this alert was issued yesterday. And then now the news reports coming out on it earlier this morning today. And just wanted to make sure that everyone is aware to stay vigilant. Just because these attacks, these warnings have not unfolded yet, doesn't mean they are not coming. Stay vigilant. And I'll make sure to keep you guys up to speed on everything here on the channel so you know exactly what is going on. And do me a favor, if you appreciate that, I see we got about 2,700 people live with me in the room. Take a second. Hit that like button, helps spread this out further so more people can get the latest information. Don't forget to hit subscribe to stay up to date. If this is your first time here, it's totally free. Why not? I'll keep you up to speed on everything. And I cite everything like a book report. I try to hold myself accountable to the community, share with you all my sources. So I've linked this in the description so you can go directly to the travel.state.gov website. You can see this alert. You can share it out with other people if you want to make sure that they know about what's going on. If you have anybody traveling abroad, if you know anybody that is going to a rally or a demonstration or a protest today, to use caution and just be vigilant while you're out and about. So this is linked in the description, along with additional resources for you and your family in case you're somebody that wants to prepare, wants to be ready in case we have any of these things that unfold, unfortunately, that will wreak havoc on the United States. We've heard warnings of critical infrastructure systems being hit. So I have down in the description various links to things to help you out, including a free guide on what to take into consideration if we see power grid failures take place. So, like I said, though, I'll continue to keep you guys up to speed on everything. Like, subscribe. Meredith, aka TC, thank you for the $20 super chat. Appreciate that a ton. I see Porcupine Party saying get prepared and stay safe. And I see Betty saying pray people. And like I said, I'll continue to keep you guys up to date on everything, you guys, so that way you know exactly what is taking place. But thank you so much for joining me. Stay safe out there. Stay aware of all the warnings, and I'll keep you up to speed on everything. Hit that like button, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care. God bless. This is Steve.